Sometimes people are gonna judge your growth. And some things are beautiful, some things are broken. Only difference is the one eye that's open. Perfect peace in the one's eyes in motion. Cause what you see now is the one time of hope and one time of love and one time of grace. Sometimes I'm with it and sometimes I ain't. Sometimes I'm strong at other times I'm faint. But the beauty in it all that there's no restraint. Word, cause you define that. Look hard enough then you could find that. It's hard work but you could grind that. Beautiful and broken you combine that. You define that. Look hard enough and you could find that. It's hard work but you could grind that. Beautiful and broken you combine that.
I'm beautiful and broken. Now I'm open. I am who I'm supposed to be. Finally I know. You said I've changed because I have. I'm not beautiful.
I am.
I'm broken into pieces.
Yeah.
Finally, I'm who I'm supposed to be. Finally, I'm the one I wanna be. Yeah. Beautiful. You're broken. I'm beautiful. You're broken.
We live in a world where people of all ages and body types surround us. Some of them with the most beautiful smiles. Behind most of those smiles are stories you can't even imagine. You have support all around you, even from those people that you might not even know. My name is Brittany Mahan, and we all are beautiful broken.
Dun. Hello, everyone. Thank you for tuning in every Tuesday. I'm your host, Brittany Mahan, along with my one and only Doreen Silva. How are we doing tonight?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Tonight's topic is really hot for all you relationship lovers out there. I think it's a hot topic in today's society anyways. Narcissism. Do you know what it is?
Yes, I'm very well aware of narcissism.
So why don't you explain to our audience what narcissistic partners are?
The first word that comes to my mind is manipulation. Manipulating, lying, often cheating. But like my thing was like first when I didn't know what narcissism was for the longest time, like at all. I had no idea. And then, you know, after going through like past relationships and kind of trying to figure out like why people were the way they were, why they hurt me or why they wronged me, it was like, oh, okay, this makes a lot of sense now, and now I know what narcissism is.
Right. It's weird because like when I was dating, so like you guys all know the story, I've shared it too many times, but there was a naked girl in the closet. He was like the biggest narcissist because he was like manipulating me to be somebody that he wasn't, right? And I think what the core of a narcissistic partner is that they see you and they see your vulnerability and they study you and they analyze you, right? So they're like, okay, this girl will act this way if I act this way. So then they start to put on an act for you and they start to perform in a way that really isn't who they are. And so you're falling in love with an idea that's false. It's not true. It's not really who they are. And then that's why one day it just gets cold, right? And they switch up on you and you're like, who are you? Because I don't know who you are.
And they usually can't hold that up for long either. Like
Right.
It starts to show, like their true colors definitely start to show after a little while. And I think that's like, it's definitely what you said. They put on that, they see your personality and they like admire your personality, and it's like almost like they put on like that's who they are so you can like them and that you can fall for them, but they can't stick to it for long. And then like little by little you start to see who they really are, and you're like, who is this person? Like this isn't who I fell in love with. But like by that time you're already like in too deep,
Right.
and you're like you're like I want to get out but I can't.
Right. And I think what a lot of people don't talk about, right, is women have unconditional love, okay? And that is what the man, and it's not a man versus women thing. It's really not, okay? There's plenty of psychotic women out there, and I definitely want to do an episode on that, because I think a lot of women do like to play the victim in certain situations like this, and you know, they just shun the guy forever, and in some reasons obviously it's well deserved, but in other reasons it's like, why didn't you walk away sooner, kind of. And that's always a question that you have to ask yourself, and it is hard. I'm not saying it's easy, I'm not justifying it, I'm not blaming the person for not being able to walk away, but it's definitely something that like we need to talk about, and we need to kind of understand that it's not always the narcissist, because at first they do have okay intentions. They admire your personality and they do want you to just like them. So they manipulate you and they pretend to be somebody they're not out of fear of being rejected and you leaving them.
And that's really what it is. But then at the same time, those like narcissists love attention. So to them, they love your attention, but not just your attention. They love the attention from everybody. So it's kind of like they feed off of that, and if you're not giving them the attention that they want, they kind of go for it elsewhere. And like reading,
but then why do they trap you?
They trap you because
if they want attention from everybody, then why are you like their pawn of torture, I guess?
I think it's like that they kind of like, you're their supply. Like narcissists have supply, so you are their supply for always giving them what you exactly just said, their love, their attention, everything that they have in you. And if they're not getting it from someone else, they're gonna go to you for it. And they just it is called like a narcissist supply. Like that's what narcissists have. They have like people that they have lined up as their supply, but you are their like main supply.
I'm pissed. Okay guys, this episode kind of hits deep for me because I had this narcissist show up after 7 years. 7 years, okay? And he tells me that he wanted to kill himself, okay? So obviously, I am a loving person. I hope you guys out there can know me by now a little bit if you've been watching the show since last season. And if anybody throws their life on the line, I'm doing anything I can to make sure that they know that they're cared about and that they're loved. And so he would come back and he would tell me that he cares about me and he wants to marry me and he wants to have my kids, and then he would just vanish.
Oh, I'm gonna marry you, you're gonna be my wife someday, and calling me wife, you're gonna be my wife, all this, and then like, you're who I picture to marry on my wedding day, and then would tell me all the time to wait for him, just wait until he's ready to really settle down with me, and he'll be ready to settle down with me eventually, but he's just not ready to settle down with me right now. And I'm like, okay, but just wait for me, you can't see anybody else at all, but wait for me. And I see tons of other people, but you aren't able to see anybody else.
I don't think it's love. I think it's control. I think that's what us women need to start having radars up. Is this man in love with me, or does he want to control me? And honestly, ladies, if you start really thinking about love versus control, it's creepy how many men want to control us, but that's because women have been controlled for generations on generations on generations. Come on, we can talk about the women's movement here, you know what I mean? Like, there is a sick thing in people's mind where they love to see how much they can control another person.
Well, if you think about it, like if you go back to like the past, like women stayed at home, men worked, like that was life, and the woman didn't really have a say. Women couldn't have a say. And I don't make this like a gender thing either, but it's really like, if you go back in history,
it's just really we've been so like hushed for so long that you just have to give us our moment to talk, right? And our moment is, why in the world did husbands get to go out and party and have business meetings and hook up with whores, and we had to stay home with the kids all day? And I'm not there.
I don't know why it was like that. I really don't. And I'm glad things aren't that way today. But there's something on there too that I'm seeing in the comments, and the gaslighting, like that's a huge thing. So that's when you try to like tell them something that they're doing, and then immediately it's like they make themselves a victim.
So for one example was, we were in my living room and he was kind of like, he was like, you're gonna be at my funeral, like if you don't start showing me that you care about me, like I'm gonna kill myself.
Oh yeah.
And I'm looking at him and I'm like, dude, I don't want you to go anywhere, like I'm trying to show you I care about you here. And then he looks at me and I was like, honestly, what's messed up about this is you've never been there for me, and I'm always here for you. Whenever you hit rock bottom, I'm here to pick you back up. And my roommate heard it in the other room, and he started yelling, and he's like, I have always been there for you. If you ever need me, you could always call me. And I'm like, well, you have me blocked on everything right now, so
But that's,
is that what it is?
That's like the gaslighting right there, because it's like, just kind of, they'll tell a lie just to kind of like back their side up, even though there's no truth in what they're saying, but they'll continuously say it. But then they'll call you out on something you did that wasn't even like half as bad as what they've done to you, but they'll say something just to make, like, take away from what point you're trying to say of what they did wrong to you. But they'll be like, oh, but you did this and you do this all the time or something. And it's like, okay, forget about what you were trying to bring up that hurt you in that moment, but they're going to make themselves the victim, that you can never talk about anything that bothers you.
So it's basically you're dealing with a human who never validates your emotions.
No.
It doesn't matter what you say, it doesn't matter what you do. It's just like it's their way, and they'll manipulate you 100%. Guys, we're going to go to commercial break. When we come back, we're going to be with the international bestseller Taylor Higgins. She's one of my dearest friends. She wrote a book, Between the Stitching, and it is all about her narcissistic relationship and how she got out of it. So stay tuned, and we're going to be right back with her.
Dare to be homeroom famous, a high school fable. Dare to send those old STEM theories flying past the neighbor's house into outer space. And for the love of STEM, dare bigger. Dare to code, dare to invent, dare to explore, dare to STEM. Check out She Can STEM to get started.
What do you think you're doing, Kevin?
Was just gonna drive home.
There are several warning signs present that you shouldn't be driving.
Like hearing voices?
Like your text-to-emoji ratio?
Oh man, the selfies. Selfie, nailed it.
We all have warning signs that let us know that we're probably not okay to drive. Mine is pretending to be your subconscious.
Craig, come on man, let's split a ride home.
Hey everyone, welcome back. I'm just gonna bring her right in. Taylor, how you doing tonight?
I'm good. How are you? Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here, babe. Obviously, as soon as your book came out, I read the whole thing front to back, and I think you've gotten that response from pretty much any single girl who's read the book. It's one of those books where it's so detailed that you literally feel like you're in the room. Like it's a movie as you're reading it. It's awesome. If you have not read her book, absolutely check it out. Definitely get yourself a copy for sure. So let's just start on I'm just going to let you talk about your book for a little bit to the fans that haven't heard of it.
Yeah, basically it was a book that I wrote. I was in a relationship with a professional baseball player, and he was, like you said, really amazing at first. Soulmate right off the bat, let's get married, let's do this. Moved very, very quickly. I was all on board. I thought that I had never experienced a love like that before, and I was like all for it, right? I felt so lucky. And then shortly after, his mask fell off, because it tends to do that very quickly with narcissists in general, and I realized that he was a different person, and by that point I was in too deep. I was in love with this person, and he had multiple different personalities and sides to himself, and I had to find a way to either deal with it, help him, I wanted to help him, or just get out, and I couldn't get out for the longest time.
Why is it that we want to help them?
Because we, as good people, feel like we can show them, because we know what good love is. We want to give them the love that we think that they deserve. And when we see someone hurting, we want to help them. We want to find a way to get them to experience the same happiness that we can give them.
And you think, because you feel like that they're hurting too. Like you can tell that.
Yes.
I think that's where it originally comes from, is I think that they really are just kind of missing that love. Mm-hmm. So you're like, I want to give you that love that you think you don't have. But I'm how long were you in this relationship?
Almost 2 years. And they appear so broken. He came from a really broken family, and I was like, hey, I can fix this. I can fix you. I can show you what a solid family is like, a solid love life would be like. And it just wasn't the case at all.
So how long into it, I know you said it happened really soon, so how long did you start to see the real?
First few months I started to see stuff, but I clung on to crumbs of happiness.
Yeah.
Little bursts.
You really
do that?
You really do, because you hold on to those memories
good
of
moments.
when you thought everything was so perfect,
Yeah.
and you're but they were but that's I know I've done this research on this, but so there's like the love bomb phase. Like the love bombing phase is like right in the beginning, and like that's what you said, like, marry me, you're so beautiful, and like you're so great, and like they show you off to the world.
Flowers, gifts, everything. And then it's like the light switch flips and everything changes.
And it's like that, so you have all that love bombing that you hold on to, that like love bombing like so much, and then you kind of like look back on those days of like wanting that back, but they come back too, which is crazy. They really do come back, but they don't stay as long as it did in like the love bomb phase.
They're almost as present as the bad moments, the good moments. They kind of coincide with one another, and I found that in my relationship, at least, the good was just as much there as the bad, and then the bad did in the end obviously outweigh the good. But that's why I stayed. Everyone, why did you stay for so long? Because there was good moments.
Yeah, you hold on to those good moments, definitely. You really do. It's like it's sad kind of in a way, because you really want them to be that person that they are in those good moments, and they're not really. No, and then I was talking to Britt about what's called the trauma bond. I don't know if you're familiar with that. Yes.
When you're so used to being emotionally abused, you form what's called the trauma bond, and you can't leave that person. You almost become addicted to the abuse and the feeling of feeling so low that you can't remove yourself.
Even after the relationship,
I'm just like done. I'm done.
Even after the relationship, you can still have the trauma bond too. Like even when you're with someone else, you're still kind of holding on to that memory of like the other person, and
For sure.
So how do you let them go?
Time takes a lot of time, and then you'll bring some of those PTSD or bad habits into future relationships. And I can speak from now 6 years after I've been out of this relationship, and I feel like I don't carry any of those issues with me anymore. But for the first few years, for sure, they definitely were so fresh. Like the emotional abuse, I expected physical abuse from other people, and it's just, you expect it, and it just takes time.
So there was physical abuse with him too?
Yeah,
I've been in physically abusive relationships too, and even I think I've said this before, like on one of the shows, like, so the person I was with, like after, and he was also a narcissist, but like not as much as like a sociopath as the person before, but it was like physically abusive. So when the next person didn't hit me, I was like, what's wrong? Like, because I brought that with me. There's like that I wanted to hit still, and it was like, he was like, you're like a little freaking like kid in a cage that you just want to like I'm like, I can't help it. Like,
you expect it. You learn to. I would cower. I would be in relationships with great people, and they would just move too quickly, or they would approach me too fast, and I would just cower. And I would be so used to like hands that I couldn't. It was just sad. But time.
It definitely is PTSD too. People don't like think about that. There really is like PTSD that can come from it. Definitely.
I'm just at a loss for words because I think I'm still processing, like, realizing that I was dealing with a narcissist since I was 10.
But
like,
you don't know it when you're in it.
No, you don't. And, like, my whole introduction on what love was a narcissist, right? And then the narcissist moved. So, like, it amplified everything by, like, 1,000, because I always said that it wasn't him, like the world caused it. You know what I mean? Like his parents made him move. We can't be together because his parents or this or that or an external force. So I don't know. It's like a different. I'm just trying to. I'm like thinking a lot, guys. I'm not like quiet. I'm just in this.
I
listening.
think though, definitely. Like I think I had been trying to figure this out for a while. Is why I attracted them for so long, and I think. Is you said it already too, that like I can fix them and I can change them, and I don't know where that comes from or why you think that you can change them, but if there's something in that, because I said it every single, like they're gonna change for me, and like I can get them to change, and you really can't get them to change.
No, I always said, because I'm so patient, that I would wait for anything. You know, I would wait around for them to figure out themselves, and I could help them. And that was kind of something I clung on to. People sometimes say that when they come from, like the abuser comes from a broken family, you as a solid person see that you want to help that. You can identify that problem, and then you want to try to find a solution for them. Or you yourself come from broken or damaged families, and you attract what you know as normal.
That was like my case, was like, because it felt like home to me, like, and that's what it like, because I came from divorced family, so it's like that was like, oh, this is familiar to me.
It's not so bad.
And you really do, you kind of we always go to like what feels like home, and like that's not a good thing. But yeah, like you feel like you can fix somebody, and they can't even fix themselves, like, because they won't even acknowledge the fact that narcissism is like the least
empathic.
No,
researched.
Well,
There's no.
they won't
They won't
actually
admit it.
So even like you can go to a psychologist and they can be like, oh, you have OCD or you have anxiety or you have this, but like the narcissist can make the therapist think that there's something absolutely not wrong with them. That's narcissism, because they can't diagnose it.
So do you think their number one issue is they don't take ownership?
That's just one of many issues. They're not capable of taking ownership because they believe they can convince themselves that they don't do anything wrong.
Mm-hmm.
They don't see an issue with anything they're doing. They're always the victim, and it's always your fault, amongst many other issues.
Now, how does one become a narcissist? Because do you think there's narcissistic women out there?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it probably, I think that is more in males. I don't know, I can't say that for a fact, but I think they do say that it's more in males than it is in female. But I think that there can definitely be females also.
Definitely.
How does one become one?
I think it's either in you or it's behavior that's learned by people closest to you.
I think I read in a scientific study that it stems from not having a childhood where your identity's formed from your parents, so that you become almost like over obsessed with yourself. Yes. Because you don't have anyone else telling you like what you are.
Yep. Yeah. That's really what it is.
In my case, the guy that I dated, his parents were very controlling of him, and he couldn't make decisions for himself. So instead, he turned to, in this case, vulnerable women and would control them for his fix. He was filling a void that he wasn't able to get at home.
You know what's crazy? This is gonna go a little off topic, but I think it all clicks. So I was watching a movie, and there was a pimp, and there were some hoes, and I was like, "Oh my goodness, like what is going on?" And then I Googled, "How do I get a pimp?" Because I was just and the reason I Googled that was because I was like, "Is that how you get one? Like you just like shop online or like, you know?" And then it turned into a whole research article that I ended up reading, which described that I watched this like 20-minute documentary on this dude who used to be a pimp, and he's like, no, we're narcissists. We find vulnerable women who've never been loved before, who don't know what love is because they come from a mother and a father who either abandoned them, ignores them, are alcoholics and doesn't pay attention to them. And he goes, and I make the girl fall in love with me, and then I then say, go have sex with this guy because she'll do anything for me, and then I say bring me back my money. And that was how he did it. And he's like, and he said you had to get the girl's trust. Like you had to get the girl's trust. And I think that's what's so heartbreaking about relationships nowadays is trust is everything in a relationship. And if you don't have trust, you don't have a relationship. And that's just the hard truth. And a lot of people don't value that as much as I think they should. And if you're a narcissist trying to manipulate people by getting their trust, it's just a sad, sad story.
No, it is. But at the same time, like what you just said too is like, I always, like, no matter like how bad they are, I always like do have compassion for them because they really are just like hurting. There's something inside of them, like we said, that when they were younger, they created the persona of they obviously don't know it's a narcissist, but they create this persona of like, nobody's gonna hurt me and nobody's gonna affect me. So that's where like they create this kind of like, I'm so great,
like a fake life.
Yeah, I'm so great and nobody can hurt me kind of thing.
And these people will go through life without forming any real emotional connections to anybody. They will never have real love. It's the loneliest life that these people lead the most loneliest lives.
Someone just called Donald Trump one. That's actually a good example.
They say that.
That's a great example. I mean, you can even see it from, his wife is a foreigner. There's no secret about that. And she won't even hold his hand. And there's plenty of videos going viral of her smacking his hand away. So that just shows you, as a woman, and we're all women here, if I'm smacking a man's hand away, I loathe that man. I don't know. It's like I would rather be anywhere else in the entire world. So she's kind of like a prisoner, honestly.
Yeah, and it's back to like what you said. They make it like they're so in love too, when they like, you see the things like on what they post online and everything, and they make it like they're so in love.
Now, question: is it that they make it that they're so in love, or are they copying what the movies show.
I think it's the movies show. I think it's what they want people to think that they
like to create a fake persona, and they want to show people that they're happy and that they're living a normal life, but behind closed doors their life is a mess. But they can't let others know that their life is just a lie. It's one big movie to them. I just think that they're all actors, basically.
Yeah, I've actually never really heard somebody say it that way, that
everything they do is a performance.
Yeah,
everything.
It's true. It really is. It's so tough, because what got me, like, I've been in, like, with sociopath. Pretty much almost every one of my exes has either been a sociopath, a psychopath, or a narcissist. So
thank God you're still alive. Like, what?
So I've done, like, major research on all this stuff, because I had to figure out why I couldn't have healthy relationships. Even when I was dating somebody that wasn't a narcissist, it was like I was always trying to figure out how can I not hurt this person due to my past conditioning with somebody else, because it was like you said, the trauma bond. I was years of being in those kind of situations that I took it all with me still in every relationship that I have. And even still now, like, I find it really hard to have relationships, because I'm like, I don't want to bring any of this past.
But let me ask you a question. Do you guys have a hard time being vulnerable? Because vulnerability is the hardest thing to do, and you'll have the most courage if you do it, and that's what changes people.
No, you're right. I definitely think I have a hard time being vulnerable, more so that because I had been vulnerable with somebody and then they took advantage of my vulnerability. So it's kind of...
Yeah, but you hardening up your wall because some jerk took advantage of you doesn't do anybody any good.
No, I know. You're like, this is
how long has it been?
I mean, my son's father I was with since I was 15, like 16 to I was like 22, almost 23. So that was like a lot. And then on and off with somebody else after him for like, oh my gosh, like 5 years. And then dating someone else that was also, and that was a very short-lived thing, because he showed his like true colors real fast. Like,
and we all come, like, not so much Taylor, but me and Doreen come from backgrounds where we did not have an example of what a healthy relationship looked like. So we just had these guys who honestly paid attention to us more than our dads did.
Or even just, I saw the fighting of relationships. I saw people in my family fighting. Couples in my family were fighting. So you see fighting and you think, like, this is normal. This is normal. And fighting is not really that normal.
You do. I mean, if you disagree, that's one thing. But, like, screaming at someone and just, like, no, that's too but it goes both ways here. So, like, if you're sitting in the car and your partner's silent and you're freaking out, that's you having an emotional trigger that you need to handle in the best way possible. And if vice versa, like, I'll never forget, there was my ex he literally got so mad at me because this unattractive dude walked me to the car, and it was 10:30 at night, okay? So he locks me in his car and starts freaking out, screaming at me. And I have had past traumas where I freeze in those moments because I was like, what did I do wrong? Like, he could have just talked to me about it, and we could have had a calm conversation, and I would have apologized, and this would be over. But he screamed and screamed and screamed, and I just remember, like, feeling like that little vulnerable, abused girl that, like, couldn't do anything and just froze. But in that moment, he was having an emotional explosion of I triggered something in him, and that's how he handled it. But that's not my responsibility. Like, if your partner is losing it on you, that's them not being able to handle their emotional traumas. It's not you don't take ownership of triggering someone. Like, you triggered me, so that's why I abused you. Like, that is not what this is about, because that's just reverse abuse.
Yep. No, I'm trying to, like, figure out...
That's just emotional abuse, period. When someone is trying to make your problem your fault, their problem your fault, right?
Right. Where you, like, blame... It's like one of those things where you're like, you caused me to feel this way, therefore I did this. It's like
shifting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to think, like, was there... What in that situation, what did he do? So you just had somebody walk you to your car? Was it, like, at night? And
it was literally Alicia's birthday.
And just because somebody walked you to the car?
Yeah, walked me to the car. He was so upset, flipped out on me. And I had my girlfriend...
Because he's jealous.
I had my friend Jasmine, like, come meet us out. And I literally picked up the phone, and I'm like, like whispering because he finally like passed out, and I'm like, please just like don't come to the car, he's finally sleeping, like I don't want to like wake him up because like
So you guys
he just
sat in the car fighting the whole time?
Yeah, for like 3 hours until he like woke up, and then he like drove home, and this is like what's so tough about being from an abusive home. Like, I should have just left. I should have went with my girlfriend, who like me and her, our friendship was kind of rocky after that for a little bit because she was so shook how someone could treat me like that, and I would stay. But you do get in that like, oh, he can't, like it's almost like there was so much chaos that the moment there was peace in our messed up minds, you were like, oh, I won.
Yeah.
I won this battle. I got him to calm down. And it's like, no, he passed out because he was drunk. Like,
But then that's exactly where people will be like, so why don't you just leave? But when you're already in such a mess, the last thing you're thinking of doing is causing more of a disruption.
right.
When there's already a
and
mess.
I remember why I didn't leave, and it was because I didn't have anything to leave to. My home life was uncomfortable. I didn't want to live there. I just graduated from college. I didn't know what my future looked like. Like, he was literally the only stability thing that I had. And I think in your book you can relate because you moved for this dude. Mm-hmm. And that's a lot of the hard time of what narcissists do is they isolate you, right? So that you don't have another option out. They take your friends away. They make you feel like, you can't live, breathe, eat without them. And then you're literally pigeonholed. And you're like, you have to, it's the hardest situation for anybody who has to go through this, and I really, really feel for you out there.
That is what they do too. Definitely, they isolate you from your friends, and like they hated like all my friends, so it was like, you can't hang out with them, or like, you're like this when you hang out with this person, and this person makes you change, and like, I don't want you hanging out with them anymore. And even I remember like years ago, I had one of my friends like stick up for me in front of like him, and in that moment I should have been like, I'm leaving with her, and she stuck up for me. And instead it was like, because you're so afraid of them leaving you that you're like, please don't do this, please don't argue with him, like he's not he's
you,
gonna
like,
leave
get
me
mad at your friends.
like he's gonna leave me now. And it's like, but really, in that, like, after you like look back on it, reflect back, it's like, I should have ran, I should have went with her when she stuck up for me. But instead it was like, please don't, you're gonna ruin this for me. And it's like, why are you so worried about it being ruined? Because it's like that somebody could have saved you and taken you away.
Yeah,
That's a perfect example. It really is. It really is.
now let's connect this a little bit more. How was everybody, and honestly, answer this honestly, and I will too after, where was your self-worth at when you date a narcissist?
I didn't have any.
See, I did. I was good at the time. I was actually Miss Teen Massachusetts at the time. Like, I was up here when I met him, and then he just took me down to, I kept thinking that I was hitting my rock bottom, and I would reach another low, and I was like, when will this stop?
Yeah.
And so, I mean, by the end of it, I had nothing. I even detail in my book that I was afraid to go outside and walk my dog because I didn't want to have any conversations with neighbors. I didn't want to make eye contact. I couldn't make eye contact. I didn't want to go on job interviews. Like, I was totally at my rock bottom. So self-esteem was at a 0, but it wasn't like that in the beginning.
Wow. Okay. So question. So like, because when you won Miss Teen, how old were you?
17.
Okay.
Yeah, almost 18. Yeah.
Were the confidence level that you have now at 25 versus 17, was it really that high, honestly, at 17 compared to who you are right now as a woman at 25?
I mean, honestly, I look back, I wasn't that much different than I was at 17. I just have more life experience, but I like to think that I was the same person.
Okay. No,
Yeah,
I get
really.
that. I get that.
I was gonna say, actually, now you said it, like, I think I actually was pretty confident, but I think they hate that you were confident.
What's crazy?
Like, they want to
asked-
take away
Yes,
that confidence.
I asked this question, honestly, and as you guys said it, I thought, in my own situation, I am so confident, and then they come back, and then I get so unconfident, and it's like they suck.
Let me break that down real quick.
Yeah. Oh, you're doing good?
They're like,
That
let's
sucks.
see. Yeah, I can't. Honestly, this is why I'm single. This is why I have a guard up. I don't have a wall up, but I have my guard up because who's going to be, I'm looking for loyalty. I'm looking for honesty. I'm looking for commitment. Okay, men? And a lifelong commitment. I'm not looking for this pump and dump one day, I love you the next. I'm sorry, I'm just not. That's not who I am. That's not who I'll ever be. And I just think, I don't know if there are guys out there right now in that mindset.
I think it's great that you're doing this and you're doing the work and you put, like you said, you have like your TikTok, because this is such a big thing right now. Like, narcissism wasn't known as much as it, like, when I was going through this, I had no idea what a narcissist was. I had no idea what any of this was. So there wasn't, like,
guidance
Google or anything or anything.
We just felt like we were crazy because
I didn't even know these words.
Yeah, no.
I had no idea. Like, I didn't know what gaslighting was. I didn't know what a narcissist was. I didn't even think about manipulation. I didn't think that somebody was manipulating me. But it's so good that, like, you're doing this, because there's so many, like, young girls that are getting into these, like, relationships and not realizing or thinking that they're the problem.
Yeah.
And that's
really what I do on TikTok. I just talk about what happened, and people are like, I actually think I'm in an abusive relationship. It's actually sad to know how many people don't realize what they're going through at the moment. Right. And it takes another story for them to be able to compare. There's just not enough awareness around this subject. That's why I talk about it.
And I love that, and that's why I wanted you on my show. That's why me and Doreen have been victims of this. Like, women are victims. We have been victims in society forever. Men have literally abused us, taken advantage of us, and I know we're going back and forth. And like I said, it's not a gender thing. Like, I know there are men out there who have been hurt by women, but like I said, give us our time, because we deserve it. Everyone in this room as a woman has loved unconditionally a man, and we just wanted to help them. We wanted to give them love, and they took advantage of it, which is, super unfortunate. I guess we're going to go to a commercial. I'm not sure why, but we'll come right back after this.
We know that we're asking Americans to do a lot right now. So we're asking everyone to be selfless for others so that we can protect those who are most susceptible to this virus.
A question I often get asked is, why should young people care about the spread of coronavirus? Well, we know that people with underlying medical conditions over the age of 60 are at highest risk, but they've got to get it from somebody.
Social distancing is really physical separation of people.
It's what we refer to when we ask people to stay at least 6 feet apart.
Not going to bars, not going to restaurants, not going to theaters where there are a lot of people. It all just means physical separation so that you have a space between you and others who might actually be infected or infect you.
We all have a role to play in preventing person-to-person spread of this disease, which can be deadly for vulnerable groups. For more information on how you can social distance, please go to coronavirus.gov.
Awkward. Do I look familiar? I should. You might remember me from here. Here. Or maybe even here.
But an awkward silence can be a great thing.
It can actually be a perfect moment to reach out to a friend and ask if they're okay if they seem down.
Doesn't matter how you say it.
You all right?
Everything's okay?
All G?
You all right, girl?
Oh,
You cool?
You bugging dog.
Just show you're there for them.
Go on, Kelly. Seize the awkward.
Hey, you haven't really been yourself lately. Are you okay?
Find out how you can help a friend with their mental health at seizetheawkward.org.
And I can't change, even if I try, even if I wanted to. My love, she keeps me warm. 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 She keeps me warm.
We are neighbors and best friends.
I love my sister.
My heart doesn't see race. Love is love.
Our family is no less than any other family.
All All right, everyone. Welcome back to Beautiful Broken, where we're talking about narcissists. We have Taylor Higgins, international bestseller of Between the Stitching. It is a book where she dated a professional baseball player who was a narcissist, and she explains that whole relationship. If you guys have any questions for Taylor, right now we're going to take question and answers, so please comment in the comment below. Taylor's going to read them, and then we're going to ask, but we're just going to keep talking until someone has a question. This topic is stressful for me, and it like really like just upsets me in a lot of ways, only because that commercial was just so beautiful. Like, love is blind, love is patient, love is kind, it doesn't judge, it's not boasting. And a lot of people, unfortunately, don't know what love is. They think love is pain. And they stick with partners who cause them pain because that's the unfortunate abuse that they've had in their childhood. And even I don't even know, because I now have some friends who didn't get abused in their childhood, yet they still go after partners that cause them pain, and then they still attach love to that.
Because you just want to feel some kind of connection to somebody. We're human, like we want human connection. So sometimes, even if it's not perfect, I think you just want to connect with somebody, and sadly, sometimes we take what we settle. I don't know why, but we do.
Why? Like, why?
I feel like we're all broken a little bit inside from something, whether it's your family, whether it's work, whatever it is. We're all a little broken from something. And I think we try to fix people when we are feeling a little bit broken inside, because it makes us feel a little bit better.
Now, do you think people need to focus on fixing themselves?
Of course, but it's not always as easy as just we need to work on ourselves. You know, sometimes it takes self-discovery and heartbreak and turmoil and pain to find out who we really are in life.
Mm-hmm. Do you give any like advice in your book for like people that are going through it?
Tons. So at the end, I actually walk you through how I got out, my way out, and I detail that step by step, like you live with me in the moment. And then at the end, I write to myself, basically as, at the time, present-day Taylor. So if I could go back in time and do it again, I kind of write to people that would be going through what I was going through at that time. So there's plenty of ways and outlets of advice for other people in that book.
I'm gonna get the book too. I haven't read it, but I'm totally gonna get it. Just
what would your top 3 advice be? And then JJ has a question.
Advice be for people going through it?
Yep.
It's a journey, so take your time. People are going to tell you to leave right then and there, and it doesn't happen like that. So you'll know exactly when to leave. You'll know it in your soul. Be kind, be gentle with yourself, because you're going through so much and nobody really acknowledges that. Mm-hmm. And don't be afraid to speak to people about it, because you're so used to masking your emotions and hiding everything behind closed doors. There will be someone that will listen, and that's the one way you're going to get your confidence back.
I love that. JJ said, Taylor, I'm in a relatively new relationship, and the last relationship I was in, she always last went to her mom when she had a problem in our relationship. How can you trust someone new when communication was such an issue in the past? Question.
So she always went to her mom if there was an issue in their relationship. Okay. Sorry, I'm just rereading it. Mm-hmm. How can you trust someone new when communication was such an issue in the past? Well, that would be... I think we would have to probably have a little bit more information on that. If communication was an issue in the past and she's going to her mom instead of you, I would just probably sit her down and confront the issue head on, mm-hmm. as opposed to just allowing her to continue to run back to her mother. The relationship is between the two of you at the end of the day, and I think that it would be best for you to just sit down and confront the issue head on.
That's what's frustrating about love and relationships, is like love is an emotion that we feel in our bodies, just like anger or happiness or whatever. But not a lot of people acknowledge love, right? Like, they acknowledge anger, they acknowledge sadness, tears come out of your eyes. Anger, you're smashing things, or you have that like angry face on. But love is just so gentle, and it's so subtle, and it's nothing physical really happens besides your heart moves. And I just am so tired of when someone is in love with somebody, the judgment that other people are putting on that person because of jealousy, or now this is kind of going down a different path. But my point is this, that I just think that love needs to be protected nowadays, especially in today's world. And if you are with someone who's taking your love for granted, that you have to do something about it. And what would be something that someone can do for themselves to help move in the right direction
if they're looking for love?
Mm-hmm.
The last thing I would want to do, I always ask myself the question of, if tomorrow were my last day, what would be one thing that I wish I'd done differently? And I would just take the jump. Like, as long as you're moving in the direction of where you'd want to be, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Staying in one position, staying complacent is the worst thing you could possibly do. Just take the first step. At least you're moving.
John said, do you think narcissists take enjoyment for who they are, or do you think deep down they hate it and can't help themselves?
That's a good question.
That's such a good question. I personally think that they enjoy it to some extent. I don't know that they're even able to feel pity for what they're doing or sadness. I don't think they're capable of that, but I do think that there is pleasure in some of the things that they're doing. What
I
about
think
you?
sometimes they might, though. Like, one of my exes would always call me, and this was usually when he was drunk. It was really, like when he was really drunk, and he would be very apologetic for the things that he had done to me. It was always only when he was drunk, though. That was never when he was sober. But every time he was drunk, he would be like, I'm sorry for the things I've done to you. I'm sorry for... But then you wonder if, like, the apology is even genuine. Like, it's like, do you mean this? Is this real? Like,
right.
Because there's no changed behavior after the apology. Yeah. So it's kind of like...
That's manipulation.
Yeah.
But my question to you, okay? Because, like, why were you looking for him to change? Like, why didn't you just move on? And that's just, I know, but I'm just
there.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think you just,
because like my narcy, I still move on. I
Wait,
never
side note,
stick
I just
here.
want to say for the people watching, there are several different kinds of narcissists. So you might have dealt with one, you might have dealt with one, and I could have dealt with someone
I'm
completely.
glad you said that too, because I had no idea that either, and then I realized there's like different types.
Because even though he was, you know, what he was, I never let him pigeonhole me where I felt like I couldn't be. If you weren't with me every day, if you're not committed to me every day, then I'm gonna do my thing. I'm gonna meet other people. I'm gonna, you know, like. So I think that's where women need to gain their power back, or men in a narcissist relationship. If he's not or she's not treating you the way you deserve to be treated, there is no relationship. So talk to other people, do your thing, because why are you, and better yourself. I think that was the way I handled it, and how every single time my narcissist came back and hurt me, I leveled up in my life. I got in better shape. I got a better job. I reached more goals. And they kind of just, then you get to a point where you don't want to be with them. Why would I want to be with you? Look at how good I'm doing.
But it's when you're, there's like a cycle. Like
yeah, there's definitely a cycle.
When you're in this, like the cycle of the abuse, it's, you can't just leave. No. Like you really can't. Like
eventually you'll get to that.
I would say you do get to it, but it's like it's something about being in that cycle of the abuse that even I did talk to other people. I did do myself. I got better shape, took care of myself, did all that, but there's something about when they come back around that you collapse.
Yeah. Like you have no strength. And I always say, you should never have to demonstrate to somebody. Like I would find myself saying like, I just really want you to compliment me more, or I don't like when you do this. I would try to show him the way to love me, and you should never have to show anybody the way. You should never have to describe in detail how you want to be loved, because the person that will love you correctly will never, ever, ever need a manual on loving you,
Yeah.
And that's how you know. That's a sign that you're not with the right person.
Yeah. And, what's funny is, like, even one of my exes, when I would say, like, just why aren't you like this to me, or like why don't you do that, or like why don't you give me like this affection, or why don't you, I feel like you hide me or something, and the word that they use a lot, I notice, is like, you're attacking me. Like, why are you attacking me?
You did this.
This is because of you, or like they turn it around on you, that like you make me feel this way and you do this to me, and it's like,
absolutely,
oh my gosh, like all I was trying to do is just tell you something that like I'm sad about, and now I'm more sad because you're making me feel worse about bringing something up. Yeah, it's crazy. It is a cycle though. It's like, and I remember years ago, like one of my friends' moms, she made this like whole board like in her bedroom, like when I was going through this with my son's father. I was like probably 22 at the time, and she made this like whole board of like the cycle, and she put like the name of this and then this and then this and this, and she was trying to like explain it to me, and she was like, you've gone through this cycle so many times, and you're just going around and around like a mouse in the wheel.
Your wheels.
Like, yeah. And she's like, you're just going around and around, and when are you gonna get out? When are you gonna stop running around the wheel? And I'm like, oh my gosh, like I can't even believe she had been in a relationship like that previously too, so she was like, I'm seeing this, and I keep seeing you going back, and why do you go back? And like it's like, like her saying that, like, just get off the wheel and stop running. And I was like, oh my God. And you do finally, when you're ready to leave, you are like ready. But even after, sometimes you still go back.
You question yourself. You're like, oh, did I make the right decision? Because even when I knew I was numb, I had no emotions. I was like, talk about rock bottom. But I left and I questioned it so many times. I was like, I don't know. I was just not confident with my decision to leave because I had no confidence in myself.
Yeah, because they take your confidence.
They take your soul with them.
This is a heavy topic. Obviously, there's so much more to talk about. We have a couple minutes left, though. You guys,
is anyone checking Instagram comments? I heard someone texted me and told me that there's some good comments on the Instagram Live.
Oh, hold on. Let me see. Real quick. I've never done this before. Hold on.
No, I never get to check it on the Instagram.
I know. Usually I don't use.
I didn't know if anybody back there was able to check it for us.
No, see, I don't even.
Hold on, somebody just commented. There is also.
It doesn't allow us to back check.
Oh.
Okay. Okay. Well, Taylor, if you have anything, we're gonna close out pretty soon. But if you have anything to say to our audience, any like last wording or where they can find your book and all that stuff.
Final thoughts. Yeah. Basically, look for the signs. I understand that it's not easy to leave the first time that you see a red flag, and know that you're not alone with that, because I stayed through many, many, many red flags. There it is. Yes, you can find Between the Stitching on Amazon only. It's available as a paperback. A lot of people ask me if it's available on Audible. It is not. But yes, just keep confidence in yourself and identify those signs. Do your research. If you think some behavior seems off in your relationship, then it probably is. But do your research and you'll figure out a lot more.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen out there, remember that we all just want love, and we want to be loved, we want to feel love, we want to give love. So if you have issues from your past, emotional partners, emotional abusive parents, heal yourself first, and then love will follow. So have a good night, and we have a love match next week. I also am looking for a single lady who wants to be on our love match show. So give us a call, and maybe we'll be you next week. Okay, we'll see you next Tuesday.